When Mr. Crazy... Fuck. When Mr. Crazy Gamer hears the word nostalgia, he generally associates it with a bad game that someone loves anyway. You only like that game because of your nostalgia boner. It's not even good. I'd like to present you today with a counter-argument. And? Why is nostalgia not a valid reason to like a game? Gamers as a whole need to realize that there is a distinct difference between someone's favorite game, which is subjective, and a good game, which is mainly objective. What do I mean by this exactly? Well, let's use an example that will most likely get me murdered in my sleep. In my video on 3D Mario games, I briefly mentioned that I disliked Ocarina of Time, and I want to make my stance on the matter completely clear. Ocarina of Time is a good game that was revolutionary for the time it came out, but it did not age well. Like, at all. It's oftentimes tedious and overstays its welcome, and good God, look at this! I'd say this looks like somebody just put a PNG and created a 3D environment around it, but they literally took a PNG and created a 3D environment in it! You could tell me that this is a limitation of the N64, but Mario 64 didn't need to do this. Anyway, this is clearly my opinion, and feel free to disagree with it. But let's pretend for a minute that Ocarina of Time actually is the raging garbage fire that I think it is. So let's pretend for a minute that Ocarina of Time is objectively as bad a game as I say it is. Does this mean that it can no longer be your favorite game? Absolutely not! Maybe you can see past the awful 2D environments that we call 3D graphics, or the poor excuse for a control scheme. And that's fine! Your nostalgia can skew your perception of a game and allow you to look past its faults and see the feelings and experiences you had when you first played it. While I personally dislike it, and even if it is as terrible as I say it is, that doesn't mean you can't enjoy it. Let's look at an example from my own personal experience.
Living in the city.
Sonic Adventure 2 is the Blue Blur's second outing in 3D. Well, technically it's the fourth, but this game is irrelevant, and I'd like to pretend that this one doesn't exist. Do people count Sonic Labyrinth? I don't. Anyway, this game is hot garbage. People usually say that at least the Sonic and Shadow levels are fun, but not even that is a surefire thing. Crazy Gadget has awful level design, Skyrail sucks because rail grinding sucks, and Pyramid Cave is weirdly semi-puzzle based. And don't even get me started on Final Chase. Even with the nostalgia glasses, this level can suck me off. Why am I talking about it if I think it's a bad game? Because it's one of my favorite games of all time. Why? How can I recognize a game as awful and still have it be my favorite? This was the first game I ever owned. My grandpa got me a GameCube and a copy of this game for my 3rd birthday, and I was hooked from the opening scene alone. Well, to be fair, my love for Sonic Adventure 2 is at 40% nostalgia and 60% that fucking Chow Garden, baby! Hell yeah! Rolling around trying to raise some chow. Got dildos to find, gotta eat some animals! I regret nothing. What's important to recognize is that there's a difference between the words favorite and best. Interestingly, I think Peanut Butter Gamer said it very well in his top 10 favorite games of all time video.
Video games are constantly evolving and getting better, and they'll continue to do so. But in the end, I think something being your favorite has a lot to do with the time in your life that it hits you. And Majora's Mask just came at the right time in my life where I was ready to be amazed by video games.
Your favorite game does not have to be the best game. If we are to assume that the best Zelda game is Ocarina of Time, which is woefully incorrect by the way, that doesn't mean that Austin's favorite game can't be Majora's Mask, or that mine can't be Breath of the Wild or Wind Waker. I still can't decide. Hell, there are even bigger extremes for this. Sonic the Hedgehog 2006 is one of the worst games ever made, and I actually find a lot of enjoyment out of it. It's far from my favorite, but because of a mix of nostalgia, because I played it when I was like 8 or something, and the fact that some parts are so bad that I find it amusing, I enjoy it quite a bit, and I've played it more times than is probably healthy. The point of all this is that being nostalgia blind isn't always a bad thing. Once you're able to recognize that a game has faults and issues and what those issues are, then you can like it as much as you want, regardless of whether or not it's actually a good game. Even if there's a better game in the series, it can still be your favorite game. Nostalgia isn't bad. In fact, it shapes what kind of gamers we become. It's those memories that move us towards certain kinds of games and away from others. My point being, nostalgia isn't just acceptable in the game world, it's what makes us gamers.
Huh?